The Seismic 7, Chapter 8, Part 1. Nolan makes kid number 3 that we know about who works here, and is not from our little group. Apparently, none of the adults think it's important to introduce any of us to each other. I mean, at least they're not making us sit together and do one of those silly get-to-know-you games. But still, this is kind of the opposite extreme. Kinsey and I tell Wyatt and Todd about Nolan during dinner, but everyone is too bone-tired to do anything practical to reach out to him. It isn't until we sleep for the night and wake up for a new day that any of us can muster enough energy, come up with a good suggestion for meeting the other kids more officially. We know at least 2 of them work in the tunnels, Todd says as we all get ready for the day. Maybe we can leave a message for them down there. With what? I ask from my side of the changing wall. On what? I'm trying to imagine a little paper note tucked behind a track on the Alpha tunnel wall, but only see it getting barreled over by a pod and eventually torn off and pushed down a magma pit. There, of course, my imagination has it bursting into flames. I've got that spray paint, Wyatt says. Tough to write in detail, but not impossible. We could leave them some sweet graffiti, Kinsey muses. Actually, the fluorescent paint is probably a good idea, so they have a bigger chance of seeing it in the dark, Todd says. It'd have to be a short message, I say, but it's a start. There's a knock at the cabin door letting us know it's time for breakfast. We all hush up quickly. There's a level of excitement in the air at having a secret of our own. This place is so mysterious, it's our turn to hide something from everyone else. We get up and eat quickly, then head to the work cavern. Part of me realizes I haven't been outside in nearly 48 hours. But another part can hardly believe that just 2 days ago, I was being dropped off by my parents for what I thought was going to be an entire summer of being outdoors. So much has changed. The 4 of us reach the cavern and casually switch our radios over to a different frequency than yesterday when the adults aren't looking. We decided that we deserve our own private channel to talk on while we're working to save the world. Having Mr. Styles or Mr. Fee listen in on our conversations is just weird. One by one, we get into our pods and begin the trek underground. It's the final countdown, Kinsey sings as her pod gets lowered into the Alpha tunnel after Wyatt and Todd's da-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na. She's not on the TTE radio yet, so her voice gets muffled as she slides into the ground. Next, it's my turn. Sinking into the narrow tunnel is only slightly less freaky than it was yesterday. At least today I know what to expect. As I travel down, fully decked out in all my gear, ready for day 2 of this operation, I realize what had been bothering me about Nolan. He's heavier set than the rest of us. There's no way Nolan could fit in the drilling pods. Dr. Greer and Miss McNamara said they have kids here to help because they need small people to fit into narrow spaces. But Nolan is a kid who's here and definitely wouldn't be able to do that. I bring up my observation over the TTE radio as we all shuttle down the main passageway. Listen, he clearly is here to train his ferrets to fight in the apocalypse in case we fail, Kinsey replies. He's the ferret whisperer. Don't question his purpose. I laugh. But then I remember what Miss McNamara said about what would happen if we didn't want to help. Maybe he's working with Miss McNamara in other parts of the park, I say. She said she had other work she could do if we didn't want to do the tunnel stuff. Let's just figure out what we want to say in our message. At least 2 of the other kids will get it, Wyatt says. We debate for a while and then agree on a simple, "Hi, we're new here. Wyatt, Todd, Kinsey, Brianna. Who are you?" But by the time I get to Wyatt's message, I see Kinsey has added to it with her lipstick. Now it reads, "Hi, we're new here. Wyatt, fearless leader. Todd, nerd. Kinsey, aka the best. Brianna, also totally best. Who are you?" "Nice, Kinsey," I say. "What?" Todd asks. "What'd you do?" Just made some corrections," Kinsey answers. "You'll see later." After traveling a ways more, I eventually reach my beta tunnel and am pleased to see everything still looks good from yesterday. No water or magma gushing in, all neat and tidy. I rotate my fracking drill 90 degrees so it faces down my tunnel. Then power up my motor to push the whole pod in. Then I begin the descent. I film more of the nitty-gritty this time, pausing every few moments to record my track installation progress and show how I'm changing my stance and how I grip the drill. I'm also recording what my thermometer, infrared sensors, and barometer say. Dr. Greer is going to have so much data to work with from this. She won't know what to do with it all. The day passes, and by the end, I'm proud to say I installed even more track than I did yesterday. I'm getting the hang of this, even in the tricky area where I had to compensate for some impossibly dense granite. Of course, to get all the way down to the magma chamber will take weeks. I don't know if Dr. Greer wants us to make more than one beta tunnel each, because from my calculations, we'd be lucky to manage 2 apiece over the entire summer. Maybe that's what the other kids are working on, other beta tunnels farther down the alpha tunnel. I chat over the radio about that idea as our cables and motors pull us up at the end of the day. But that conversation gets interrupted when Todd reaches the message on the wall. Nerd, really? That's the best you could come up with, Todd squawks. Short, sweet, and most importantly, accurate, Kinsey replies. I can't argue with it. I am a nerd and proud. Good for you, Kinsey says. I think we're all nerds, to be honest, I chime in. Then Wyatt reaches the message. Okay, I was going to be mad that you messed up what I wrote, but I think I can forgive you, he says. I can hear how pleased he is over the radio. Thanks, sir, Kinsey replies. Wouldn't want to upset our driller-in-chief. I laugh at that. Eventually, we all emerge from the tunnel looking mildly less disheveled than we did yesterday. Phew, Todd says, wiping his hands on his jumpsuit. Got 25 done today, he boasts to the waiting Dr. Greer. So did I, Kinsey immediately exclaims. Me too, I say. I watch Todd fight back a reply. I can almost hear his thoughts competing in his brain, both wanting to have done more than us and also remembering that it's a good thing we all got a lot done. An improvement, Dr. Greer acknowledges. Excellent. I look at Wyatt. 29, he says, not catching my eye. I smile for him. On day 3, we're all pumped to head back down into the ground, though we can't tell Dr. Greer or the other adults why. The claustrophobic feeling of being trapped in my pod is almost gone by now. I'm really starting to get used to this. Plus, there's the added distraction of waiting for Wyatt to reach the message and learn who the kids on the opposite shift from us are. My pod sinks lower and lower into the earth, and I sigh impatiently. My mind wanders to last night when we sent our first emails home. Those honestly might have been the hardest thing we've done so far. They took ages to write since we had to make sure our stories lined up in case our families talked to each other. We decided a simple few lines about adjusting to camping life and sitting through some lessons from Dr. Greer was as close as we could get to the truth. Mine ended up reading, Hey, Mom and Dad, things are great so far. We have set up at the campsite. I'm sharing with Kinsey, which has been fun. We saw an elk on the drive-in with a baby. Dr. Greer has been teaching us a lot so that we can help her with her research. We might go to Mammoth Hot Springs soon. That line I threw in so we all had something to talk about on our next emails. Anyway, guess that's about it so far. Did you guys make it home already? Talk to you later. Love, Bree. As Todd has to email every single day, I've been tagged as his writing buddy. Since I've been to Yellowstone before and can come up with places we're visiting with Dr. Greer. I'm taking notes of what he writes so we can all keep our stories straight from whenever the rest of us choose to email home. Wyatt and I are on the same page of doing so every few days, but Kinsey is hoping she can get away with once a week, tops. I just have to hope my parents will forgive me when they find out about all the lying I'll do this summer. I feel like I'm in one of those cartoons with an angel and a demon on each shoulder, except instead of sitting apart, they're together, high-fiving and sharing a sundae. I wish there was a way to separate them, but I guess this is one of those cases where doing something small and bad is needed in order to do something gigantically good. In an effort to distract myself, I brainstorm about other Yellowstone locals that would make sense to do geology research at as we descend into our tunnels. We're going to need a lot of them to keep the ruse going with our families. but I stop when Wyatt calls out over the radio. They answered! They're using blue spray paint. Huh, interesting. The other kids responded. I jumped with excitement and hit my head on the motorized top of my pod. Ouch, I whisper, even though no one can hear me. I don't care what color it is. What does it say? Kinsey demands. It says, Eddie Fuentes and Raquel Soto. Be careful drilling. Steam dangerous. Eddie and Raquel, I repeat over the radio. It's nice to have names. See, this is why we should get to meet them in person, Todd says. Who better to train us than the kids already doing the work? But later that night, when we asked Dr. Greer if we can meet the other kids, she shrugs it off. I even try to do what Miss McNamara said and present the argument as logical as possible. Nothing works, though, so at least for the time being, talking through spray paint in the tunnel is the only way we can think of to communicate. The next day, day 4, we write back. Thanks for the tip. Any other advice? Over the course of the next couple of weeks, we learned several helpful hints about drilling, and we learned more and more about each other. Raquel and Eddie have been here 6 months. They made the Alpha Tunnel. Now they're drilling farther down the Alpha Tunnel on opposite hours from us. They're from California. They know Nolan, but he doesn't work with them, and they don't know what he does. The days go along both slowly and quickly somehow. 20 to 30 tracks become our average each session. We're underground, and Dr. Greer loves to remind us that the volcano could go off any day now. So we really need to hurry as much as we can. Figure out a trick to install the tracks faster by using them as the measuring tool, rather than my tape measure. Also figure out that by entwining my air conditioning pipe around my pulling cable, I can cool the cable down and fight the heat from friction, which keeps my whole pod feeling much more refreshed.